Welcome back, everybody. 5:15 right now on your Wednesday, and we continue highlighting local and national early election results this morning for you.
A lot going on. KCTV5 Savannah Rudicel is talking with political analysts about the latest to come out of election night. Savannah, good morning. What are you learning?
Hey, good morning, Gina and Joe. Right now we are talking with Pete Mundo, political analyst here. He's with 710 AM and 103.7 FM. That's where you can find the Pete Mundo morning show. But he's one of KCTV5's best political analysts here. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Savannah.
Really appreciate you sitting down with us this morning. First, definitely want to get right into the still uncalled presidential election.
Yeah, I think you're looking at this right now, and it could be a few days, right? I mean, we're looking at Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and, of course, Michigan, the three that we thought we'd be maybe tallying up a little bit later, and that's where we're at right now, trying to wait and see what's going on there, what, of course, the mail-in ballots are looking like, if we're going to have to go to even further down the road. So it's what a lot of us expected, I think, in a strange way. Some people are hoping, and my hope was we get a blowout one way or the other just to kind of settle this thing down and notch the rhetoric down a little bit, but it's 2020, so that can't happen.
Absolutely. You mentioned, talking about rhetoric around this election right now. And one of the things that's really fueling this fire is President Trump declaring victory early, well before we have all of the ballots counted. What are your thoughts on that?
Mistake, no doubt about it. A major mistake in judgment. And I'm fearful of rhetoric we're going to get on either political side here the next couple of days. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be some bad things that are going to be said. The reality is we have a process as much as, especially Pennsylvania. Let's key in on Pennsylvania, where they can be counting ballots now for a week and a half. Whether you agree or disagree with it, that's the decision that the state Supreme Court came down with. So we've got to accept it. And if there is any funny business, it should be called out. But that doesn't mean that the hot rhetoric can be just thrown out there right now. It's way too early for that.
Absolutely. Not to be dismissed either, but not to be taken too much.
Correct. If there's evidence of anything, then of course, that's something we're talking about. There is not as of this moment, and I think that's an important note in all this because we all want this thing to be a free and fair election, and let's see what today and tomorrow and possibly the rest of the week brings.
We're looking, of course, this morning at some key battleground states. As you mentioned, we got Pennsylvania, of course, Wisconsin, as well as Michigan, all watching those results starting to come in probably throughout the week. Now, all of these states are states that President Trump won in 2016. Do those previous ones, does that mean anything, you think, for 2020?
I'm surprised with based on the polling. I mean, there was polling that showed the president down 8 points in Wisconsin and Michigan. Pennsylvania was a little bit closer. But that's something we have to look at. When the dust settles here, why is the polling still colossally wrong, it seems like, especially in some of these battleground states? I mean, Biden was up by 8 points in Wisconsin based on some recent polling done. Whichever way it goes, it's a nail-biter. It's a point, it's 2 points either way. That is not even within many margin of errors. So we've got to look at that and figure out what is being done wrong on those fronts in the polling perspective, because the American people aren't getting a realistic look on what's happening in these states. But if he can hold two of those, he's obviously going to be president.
Would you say that, for whatever reason, if any, the record-breaking number of mail-in ballots that we saw this year, would that have any effect on the polling numbers that we saw come out early?
I think I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that we had record voting numbers. And I think anytime, of course, the sample size increases, you have less of an idea of what's going to happen. So I think it's just that. That you've had so many people show up to vote this year, and you've had these three piles. You've had early voting, you've had mail-in voting, and then you've had day of voting. So you've got three tranches to try to figure out what's going on in each of them, and that's made it difficult. I don't want to be a pollster. Let's make it clear. I'm not jealous of the job they have to do, but it's the job they chose, so let's make sure they get it as right as they can.
Of course. Pete, hey, thank you very much. Again, Pete will be on the radio. That'll be 710 AM as well as 103.7 FM, the Pete Mundo Morning Show. You can hear a little bit more from him coming up about the presidential election. We're getting ready to talk a little bit more about the local election, so you can hear a little bit more of that discussion throughout our morning show through 9 a.m. on KCTV5. Pete, thank you again. Reporting live in Overland Park, Savannah Rudicel, KCTV5 News.
Really interesting. A lot to talk about this morning. We'll be hearing from multiple political analysts. Savannah, thank you.
A huge thanks to Pete. And I know a lot of people waking up not wanting to hear that it could be days, but that is the reality in this very impatient world we live in.
Welcome to 2020.
Yeah, 5:20 right now. Coming up in our next half hour right here, we are talking with KCTV5 political analyst Joni Wickham as well.